Mass starvation begins this October. Hey, everybody, you're watching Bull, Boom, Bear, Bust. My name is JJ. I'm your host. Thank you for joining me today. That sounds like a pretty dire prediction. That's actually not me saying that. Let's jump right into it here. Let's go to this article. Recent article out today, August 13th here. When student loan payments resume, 56% of borrowers say they'll have to choose between their debt and buying groceries. Folks, that's how serious this is. Now you know why they have waited so long to resume these student loan payments, because so many people have severe debt. And this is pretty sad. And to many, it's shocking. But if you just look back at the last 3 years, we've been talking about this. There's a reason why they haven't resumed these student loan payments, because so many students are not going to be able to make their payments. And I think it probably won't be long before they'll just have to reverse it. And maybe I'd give it 6 months and they're going to have to put another moratorium in. Will something else happen that would give the cover to do this whole thing again like in 2020? I think likely we're going to see some sort of massive shutdown scenario. From the article, federal student loan payments are coming back, and they're going to wreak havoc on borrowers' budgets. Payments due in October for the first time in over 3 years, but over half of the borrowers say they'll be forced to choose between making their loan payments and covering necessities like rent and groceries. Article continues here. Cutting back on non-essential spending will be the most typical ways borrowers will adjust to make their student loan payments. Non-essential spending? You mean that means I can't go to the club anymore? Oh, darn. You mean I can't go to the amusement park? You mean I can't go to the baseball game, the football game, the basketball game? Come on, I love spending hundreds of dollars to get sick on a roller coaster and to watch millionaires throw a ball around. I love that. Don't make me stop the non-essential spending. Okay, that's not me talking. That was my impression of someone with student loans. But there's a lot of people out there, even professionals, doctors. I've heard of doctors and spoke with professionals in the medical profession that have $100,000 plus in student loan debt. According to Credit Karma, there's only so many expenses that you can eliminate. That article is out of CNBC. If you want to go check it out, go ahead and just search for that. But what do you think? Please let me know down in the comments. What's going to happen beginning in October? Will most of these 43 million students or so, will most of them be able to even make their payments? You can only cut out so many things. I mean, we joke about, cutting out going to the sports events, going to the clubs, etc. But what if it is a choice between paying your rent and buying food versus making the payment? I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say more than half of these student loan borrowers are not going to be able to resume normal payments. And what they've already done, and the article didn't get into this as far as I saw, they already have eliminated late fees and accrued interest. So basically, they're just going to hopefully, and I say the word hopefully, in bold print here, hopefully be able to pay down the principal. They can't even charge them interest because they know what a dire financial situation so many of these people are in. And again, it's not a small number. It's over 40 million people. Speaking of pausing payments and then resuming, take a look at this article. Pause button could hit for foreclosures in New York due to unpaid property taxes. Right, so we had this foreclosure moratorium back in 2020 that lasted for a long time, and actually about 7.5 million homeowners had to participate in that to avoid losing their home. But we're not out of the woods, just as I had predicted, for all these years. Look what they're having to do, more rescue programs. The pause buttons are going to be put on these foreclosures. If you can't pay your property taxes, that's okay. Now, I disagree. I don't think people should get their homes taken for this type of thing, but that's the way it's been for a long time. But not in New York. Now we have to help people. The economy is so strong. We have to come out with these new ways to avoid people from losing their home. We have to have a pause in loan payments for several years. Even when we resume these loan payments, talking about student loans again, no interest, no late fees. All right. So don't get me wrong. This is good news for people in New York that can't pay their taxes. But if the economy is so strong, why do we need rescue programs like this? Why do we need to have so many people with their hands out, for assistance? The inflation monster. The inflation monster continues to attack, according to this here. It's a CNN article quoting a Moody's Analytics study. U.S. inflation means families are spending $709 more per month versus 2 years ago. I think that's a very, very lowball estimate there. Just $709 per month per family. Let's go ahead and annualize that, right? $709 times 12 for 12 months in a year. Over $8,500 per year now. People are spending more than 2 years ago because of this outrageous cost of living. But I think it's even worse than that. I think it's higher than $8,500 a year. We're talking about a family now, not just an individual. I've spoken to customers at my job, and I work in finance, so I talk to customers every day, each and every day, about their finances, about their expenses, about their budgets. That's just part of my job. And I'm hearing stories like my home insurance went up by $2,000 a year, my car insurance went up by 1,500. So just in insurance alone, people are spending $3, $4, $5,000 more than they did just a couple years ago. So I think this 8,500 a year number is way off. And again, I got that number from the $709 a month that Moody's Analytics was estimating that people are paying, more versus 2 years ago. Please let me know what you think down in the comments. I mean, if you have a family, if you're raising kids or whatnot, is it about 8,500 a year? Is it less? Is it more? Please let me know down in the comments. For me, it's less because I'm very careful about how I spend my money, and I conserve everywhere possible. I use coupons. I don't run my air conditioning when I don't have to. In fact, I'm recording this about 5:40 p.m. Pacific time here today, and I can already hear my neighbor's air conditioning running right now. I'm not sure if you can hear that in the background. I've already turned ours off. We shut ours off about a little after 5 o'clock, and we just use fans in the window, in the evening once it gets cooler. Now, luckily, we have this nice shade tree that kind of puts part of the house in shade and keeps it a little bit cooler. So therefore, we put this fan in the window and it kind of blows in cool air. Not everyone has that type of thing where they have a nice shade tree. Plus, it's not too hot here in San Diego. This isn't technically it's the desert, but it's not the Phoenix or the Nevada type of desert that most people think of. But it does get pretty hot. But I digress. I do conserve quite a lot. So for me, it's less than 8,500, even with the higher gas prices, even with gas here being between 460 and 490 a gallon, in some places over $5. It's still less for me. But what is it for you if you have a family? Is it more? Is it less than 8,500 like that story was putting out there? Please let me know. All right, let's talk about this here. With all the talk of companies wanting to get rid of people and replace them with automated options or AI or self-serve menus and kiosks. Here's the story. Los Angeles Times. San Francisco's North Beach faces clogged as long line of cruise Robo Taxis come to a standstill. Robo Taxis, so driverless vehicles. It's to me, it's just insane. But apparently, there's so many technical problems happening. They've got clogged lines of these robo vehicles. I wouldn't ride in one. Will you ride in one? I mean, would you ride in one, or have you ridden in one? Please let me know down in the comments. But this is largely because companies are greedy and they want to save as much money as possible. They don't want to pay people. But what are the consequences? How many more accidents are there going to be? Traffic jams like this? From the article here, one day after California greenlighted a massive expansion of driverless robo taxis in San Francisco, the implications became clear. About 11 p.m. Friday, as many as 10 cruise driverless taxis blocked two narrow streets in the center of the city's lively North Beach bar and restaurant district. All traffic came to a halt. Human-driven cars sat stuck behind and in between robo-taxis, which might as well have been boulders. No one knew how to move them. Based on what I've seen here in society, I think it's a matter of time before these taxis start getting smashed up, kind of like a lot of the stores with all the smash and grabs happening. More smash and grabs happening. I'll give you 3 seconds to guess which state this is in. California. This is out of Los Angeles. Say Nordstrom's was ransacked. Between 20 and 40 people came in, ransacked, and they grabbed as many items as they can. Looks like they tried to mostly target handbags and other special, especially expensive items here. And I tell you what, if I was shopping at that store, if I was in line to pay for something, I would just leave. I wouldn't want to pay for it. Not just because would be scared, I wouldn't feel right paying for something that you see all these other people just getting it for free. And what are they going to do to try to stop this? Are they going to be able to stop it, or are they just going to have to close down the brick and mortar stores and just go online? Um, what do you think about that? So, and if you were shopping in there at that moment, would you continue to make your purchase, or would you feel like a chump because you're paying for something, and yet all these other people, they're basically letting all these other people come in there and just take whatever they want. Now you could say no, they're not letting it. They're not letting them do it. Well, they're not taking precautions to stop them. What about a security guard with a nice self-defense mechanism on his or her hip, or I should say on their hip? Where's the security guards? Where's the prevention? And with all this going on, can they even find a security guard, right? If you were in the security field as your employment, would you want to work at any store, especially in California, when you see stuff like this going on? And I was actually in the 99-cent store a few weeks ago, and some lady came in with their kids. She was kind of dirty looking, looked like they might be homeless, pretty sad. But they had went up to the checkout lady and asked for a bag. I was actually in the checkout line. The checkout lady said, "No, you got to buy something. You got to shop and buy something, then you can get a bag." But come to find out, they wanted a bag just so they could fill it up with stuff. Because what ended up happening is the lady that actually had her kid come up and ask for a bag. The lady ended up just putting a bunch of stuff in her purse, and on the way out, as the lady walked out with her purse full of stuff, the checkout lady said, "Are you going to pay for what's in your purse, ma'am?" And then the lady said, "I'll be back." And then, of course, she wasn't coming back. And then finally, before she left, the last thing that the checkout lady said to the shoplifter was, "Don't come back. Don't come back to the store," or something like that. Um, no attempt to stop the person, no security guard there. It's the 99-cent store. Um, so are they losing more money than they would if they paid somebody to guard the items? I mean, of course, items are 99 cents, some more. I mean, the Dollar Tree has more than $1 items. The 99-cent store has a lot more items that cost 99 cents. But is it still worth it when you look at all the shoplifting and the people taking stuff? This is what happens when economies start collapsing. You get more and more people in poverty, more desperate people, more smash and grabs, more shoplifting, more crime, more car break-ins. If you park your car on the street, you're more likely to come out there in the morning, and you want to go to work, and all of a sudden your window's smashed out, and you see glass all over the road. Welcome to Night America. And you thought that what you've seen in these other countries over the years with the poverty was immune here, or that the U.S. was immune to that. Well, I think a lot of people are going to be in for a very rude awakening here in the coming years. And where do you think this is leading? Well, I think one of the places it's leading is universal basic income here. This is out of the Guardian here. "It helps with my stress," unquote. U.S. basic income project shows signs of success. So they just want to give money out to people. And do you think this is going to help with inflation? Look what happened in 2020 when they just gave money out to people. Did that make inflation worse, or did it actually make it better? Well, it made inflation worse because people had money to spend, while on the other hand, they weren't producing anything, they weren't working. So what happens? It's pretty simple. What happens when you have a bunch of money, or people with a bunch of money to spend? It's pretty simple. So what happens when you have a lot of people with a lot of money to spend, but they're not manufacturing anything, they're not producing anything, they're not even working, so they're not even giving out services, they're just spending money that they got for free. Well, prices explode, and that's one of the reasons why I've said here that we're not going to see prices come down and the cost of living come down anything significantly. Now they're telling us that inflation is coming down, but think about that. Inflation is prices going up. So if inflation is coming down, does it mean the cost of living is coming down? No, the cost of living is still going up. It's just not inflating as fast, right? So the balloon's getting bigger. It's just not getting blown up as fast as it once was, right? I always have to remind people of that because there's so many news articles out there, and the way they're worded, it's very deceptive. They're talking about disinflation. That's one of the words I've seen used. Inflation reduction. We even have the Inflation Reduction Act. Is it making the cost of living come down? No. What they're saying is that it's making inflation slow down, meaning the rate of increase slow down. But people don't need a slowdown in the increase. People need deflation. They need a cost of living that's lower. They need the cost of living to be affordable. They need to be able to pay their electric bill and still be able to pay their loan payments. Again, talking about the 40 something million people that are not going to be able to eat or have to choose between eating or keeping the lights on and paying their monthly payment. And speaking of inflation, even articles like this one is out of AP News. Yes, inflation is down. There it goes right there. No, the Inflation Reduction Act doesn't deserve the credit. All right. So they're saying that the Inflation Reduction Act didn't even help. But even if it did help, inflation coming down, it's nothing. It's not going to help anybody. Right. Sure, it's better than prices going up faster. So if prices only went up 5% instead of 10%, it's a good thing. But the bottom line is prices are still going up. People are already tapped out. They can't afford prices to go up much higher before they're at their end of the financial lifeline. And a lot of people are at the end, and a lot of people already are past the end. That's why we have to have all these rescue programs. If people weren't already at the end, why do we have to have 3 years of pausing of the loans, right? Please let me know down in comments. Folks, the game, I have said this before, the game is about up, but when you look at it, really, the game is up already for a lot of people. Again, all the people that needed assistance and all these rescue programs, the game is already up for them, and it's only by the passage of all these things, all these bills that were passed to help people, quote unquote, help people, that they were able to keep their home, that they didn't end up homeless. But now we still see homelessness increasing. I think in our last report we looked at was it Las Vegas, homelessness up 16% year over year. So what good did the cancellation of rents do? What good did the cancellation of foreclosures do for several years? While these things were in place in many cities across the U.S. Well, they may have seemed to do good for the short term, but over the long term, things are just getting worse. The cost of living is just going up. They're raising rates. They're losing the fight against this cost of living. It's not helping. Let's go into another article here. I think most of you know that we hit $1 trillion here in credit card debt, and they're talking about it here over at Axios. So $1 trillion, a new record. This is the first time we've hit $1 trillion for consumer credit card debt. And, this is after all the money sent out, right? We never had money sent out like we did starting in 2020 with all the stimulus checks. Combine that with all the other programs, the enhanced unemployment. I think most of you know what happened. But yet we're still in this position where we've got record levels of consumer debt. Even after, 40% of all dollars in existence were printed just since 2020. Insane stuff happening here, folks. How does it end? You let me know. What happens in October when the student loans are expected to resume being paid? What kind of carnage are we going to see? Is it going to be another big surge in homelessness? Are people going to just cancel their leases and their rents and move back home with mom and dad? Even people that are in their 20s, 30s, 40s. I've read stories about people with student loan debt in their 50s and 60s. It's crazy. It's insane. But hey, that's the new normal. So I guess I can't say it's crazy if it's the new normal. All right, everybody, thanks for being here. What do you think about all the news today that we covered? I really hope each and every one of you are doing well and navigating this financial storm as best you can. Thanks everybody for being here on the channel. Thanks to everyone that is subscribed. Please hit the subscribe button if you like what we talk about, and we'll be sure to be back with several updates each and every week. If you continue to support this channel, I'll continue to be here and bringing you my thoughts and the headlines here and digging in between the headlines, or what's the saying? Reading between the lines, giving you, the real economic reality view here on this channel. So thanks everybody for supporting me. Big love. Keep stacking. We'll talk to you very soon, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye for now, everybody.